before, there's massive systematic risk and fragmentation at scale. And what I mean by that is as it gets bigger, it tends to separate at the outside of the peripheries, and you get a lot of small players versus centralizing that control, because even the centralized control cannot scale that quickly. But why blockchain, right? Why blockchain, and why does Darcmatter want to work with blockchain? These are some of the easier points, and I'll go through them pretty quickly because Stan will talk about the actual technical implementations of blockchain for us. There's transparency of record keeping. So who here invests in stock? People have stock, okay. How do you get your stock portfolios? You have to request some sort of report, or they mail you something, and then somebody generates that report. With blockchain, I can instantaneously pull any kind of position at any given time, and I know that it hasn't been messed with because the record itself cannot be tampered with. And there's also a game theory-driven accountability. So game theory, for those who are not familiar with it, is basically, it's like a mutually assured destruction kind of thing. Will I do this at my own detriment so that I can gain a little bit more? You won't, because you want to protect the system, which is what blockchain is driven by. The ecosystem, the investors, the fund managers, the banks, whoever it is, they're all incentivized to create integrity within the system. And risk of human error is drastically decreased. We don't need paperwork anymore. The blockchain records everything. When I was at the bank, we used to have safes that were fireproof, and we would put documents in there in case the building burned down, so that we would still have paper records. Blockchain replaces all of that. And transferability and discrete value parcels. Right now, stock is probably the best one where you can trade in and out. Cryptocurrency is another one. It's highly granular, it's highly transferable. But in alternative assets like fund management, real estate, it's not that granular and can't move right now, but blockchain can actually fix that. So now I'll briefly talk about our platform and our business. So what is Darcmatter? Very simply put, it's an online investment platform that connects and provides direct access to private equity, venture capital, and hedge funds. Previously, before we started our platform, there was no digital medium by which investors can find fund managers, and the vice versa. Fund managers also need to find investors, and there was no way for them to do that except for a big sales force. So investors can now access our system, seamlessly access all documentation, complete KYC, as well as sign the documents and fund money directly through our platform. So here are some of the physical functions that our centralized exchange currently serves. We provide a direct connection between investors and fund managers. Like I said before, that's never been done. We also do the AML KYC functionality. It's kind of interesting because in the blockchain or cryptocurrency world, there's a lot of talk about KYC functionality. Our system already kind of does that. Of course, it's a centralized solution. But that's a big component for fund managers because they have to be compliant with all US regulations. And I keep saying US regulations because 90% of all funds are in the United States. They're domiciled in the United States. We also have machine learning algorithms to do smart matching between LPs and GPs. We take their characteristics, their previous behavior, and match them with the right fund opportunities. If my minimum investment is $100,000 and I'm very risk averse, we're not going to be recommending $5 million venture capital funds. And this is a really important one, automated workflow and paperwork. And that's really important because there are mounds and mounds of paperwork that tends to get done offline, where they send me a PDF, I print it, I sign it, then I send it back. All of that is automated through our platform. And in the next step, when we upgrade to blockchain, we're digitizing all of the contracts. So they'll all be smart contracts versus something that you have to sign offline. And we are the first and only ones that are providing cross-border investment flow. There are some software companies in the United States that focus on US asset managers and US investors. We think the biggest opportunity in the world today is actually in Asia Pacific. It's not going to be in the United States. It'll be in Asia Pacific, and we're ready to help investors diversify their portfolio. So this is kind of where we're located. One location is missing, which is in Kiev, Ukraine, our product team, but these are our front offices. So we have a location headquartered in New York, office in Shanghai, as well as an office in Korea, basically situated in what we deem as some of the most important markets for asset management going into the future. And here's just some of the firms and customers that are already utilizing Darcmatter, registered as investors or fund managers. So these kind of folks already recognize the difficulties that they're facing. If I'm a fund manager, if I'm a financial advisor at JP Morgan or Merrill Lynch, I can only sell a JP Morgan product. So what ended up happening in the United States was that clients would complain that you're only selling me expensive JP Morgan products, I'm going to leave. So what ended up happening is the financial advisor also leaves with the client, and now the financial advisor can recommend any type of product they want. But since they're not connected to a big institution, they no longer have the menu or the choice. And they start using tools like Darcmatter to better cater to their clients. You'll see here a lot of them are US and European focused, but also China. So China, as the sleeping giant as it is obviously one of the wealthiest markets in the world. We're pretty much locked up right now, but we foresee that the asset management industry there will also grow exponentially, like Korea is growing as well. And they're going to have even bigger needs to diversify their portfolio. So here's some of the recognitions that we've, as a technology company, that we've enjoyed over the years in various different markets. And this really speaks to the fact that this is something that's necessary across all markets. And everyone's feeling the friction on how to make this industry better. So I'm going to briefly just talk about our platform as a snapshot. Right now, today, about 59% of the funds that use our platform are hedge funds. Why are there so many hedge funds? Well, 65% of the entire fund industry are all hedge funds. And hedge funds tend to be the biggest number because they're what we call open-ended. So you can actually sell your position out of a hedge fund or stay in on a short-term basis. Differently, venture capital and private equity are long-term holds. They're what we call closed-end funds, which means once the money goes in, unless the fund starts distributing back out, you can't get your money back out. So total, about venture capital and private equity add up to about 40% of our users. Our pipeline is over 1,000 fund managers, which means that this problem is not something that we've identified. It's something that the industry has been facing for decades. About 210 total live, but 6.5 currently taking money. And on the investor side, this is very interesting because this is kind of a unique phenomenon for the United States. The financial advisor market in the US is huge. It's actually one of the largest in any kind of market because they deregulated. Differently, China and Korea and Japan, financial services is centralized. It's within the banks or the asset management institutions. So financial advisors, since they represent so much wealth, they've become a big focus for us. But why do they need our solution? Financial advisors in the United States tend to be smaller shops, maybe 5 to 10 people, and they are actively sourcing as well as giving investors recommendations on a daily basis. So tools like ours are very attractive for them. And when we first started our business, people said, well, why would an institutional investor want Darcmatter? I mean, they have access to everything they want. They don't. They don't have access to everything they want because there's about 14,000 funds at any given time, and you can only focus on so much or do due diligence on so many funds. For the first time, they're able to see a menu of a bigger selection and variety of funds. It's like saying, I have 10 stocks, and I'm only going to invest in the 10 stocks without knowing the thousands of other stocks that are out there and how they perform. So 13% of our users are institutional, mostly international institutions, and then 10% or so are family offices. So family offices tend to be wealthier or ultra high net worth individuals that manage their own money. We grow at about 30% month over month, and that's been actually increasing to 40%. So we were very excited to see what kind of value that we can create for a global investor base through our upgrade in blockchain. So we're in the midst of our SAFT ICO. It's structured as a SAFT, which is a US exempt security. So it's like investing in a private investment in the United States. And here's some of the contact. Jin is our primary contact. He's our head of Korea. So if you have any questions, feel free to email. We have a Korean-speaking Telegram chat as well, if you have any questions. And I'm happy to take any questions now, if any, or we can push the questions for later on. Okay, thank you everybody.